Are you interested in discovering the fastest way to cause a narcissist to lose interest in you entirely? I have outlined 7 powerful strategies that will compel them to walk away and leave you in peace for good. In fact, the 7th point is so effective that they will likely start avoiding you as if you were a contagion they cannot afford to catch. Many people fall into the trap of believing that the only way to handle a narcissist is to fight back, enter into heated arguments, or desperately try to prove that they are right. However, engaging in these behaviors is exactly what keeps the narcissist attached to you, because it feeds their insatiable hunger for attention, drama, and control. The most effective approach is to become calm, composed, and genuinely unbothered. When you reach this state, you stop being a source of entertainment for them. You cease providing the emotional energy that they rely on to survive. Today, I am going to walk you through the process of achieving this, step by step. Before we get into the details, we need to establish a very important foundation. This approach is not about manipulation, nor is it about seeking revenge. This is strictly about preserving your personal peace, your internal power, and your mental health. It is important to recognize that narcissists act like emotional vampires. They sustain themselves through your reactions, your energy, your fear, your anger, and your sadness. As long as you continue to provide these reactions, they will always find a reason to come back for more. Research in psychology indicates that narcissists often harbor the delusion that they own the people in their lives. In their distorted perception, you do not have freedom or autonomy. Instead, you are viewed as a resource of emotional supply that they feel entitled to use whenever they wish. But here is the truth that they would never want you to acknowledge. That entire illusion collapses the moment you stop participating in their game. When you refuse to react, stop chasing them, and stop explaining your actions, they lose their sense of control. So let us go through the 7 specific steps that cause narcissists to lose interest and exit your life permanently. Keep in mind that the 7th step is the most potent one of all. The first step you must take is to cease providing emotional reactions. Narcissists consume your emotions like fuel. They honestly do not care whether you express love or hatred toward them. What matters to them is that you are still reacting and that you still care enough to feel something in their presence. When you cry, beg, argue, or attempt to justify your actions, you are serving them exactly what they crave. Think of this relationship dynamic as being similar to interacting with a spoiled child. When a child throws a tantrum and receives attention, They quickly learn that the behavior is effective. Narcissists function in the same way, except they are adults who possess the emotional maturity of a toddler. Whenever you react, they gain a sense of power. Conversely, when you stop reacting and instead maintain a calm, emotionally flat presence, they lose their grip on the situation. In the beginning, they will likely escalate their efforts. They might say hurtful things, deliberately attempt to provoke you, or even pretend to change their ways. They will try almost anything to elicit a reaction from you. However, when you consistently provide nothing, no anger, no sadness, and no excitement, they begin to deflate. After all, what is the point of performing if the audience has walked out of the theater? This does not mean that you are merely faking indifference. It means that you have reached a genuine internal state where their opinions, their insults, and their drama no longer carry any weight in your life. That is what true strength looks like. The second step is to practice total no contact in a rigorous and proper manner. Many people believe they are implementing no contact, yet they continue to make small, seemingly harmless exceptions. True no contact requires absolute zero communication, zero curiosity, and zero checking on their status. Experts often highlight 5 specific areas where people inadvertently break their own boundaries: sending direct messages, sending indirect messages through other people, stalking their social media accounts, driving past their home, or asking mutual friends for updates about their life. You must effectively close every single one of these pathways. Think of a burglar walking down a quiet street. He approaches a house that features a locked gate, security cameras, bright lighting, and a loud dog. Naturally, he keeps walking and moves on to an easier target. However, if he finds a house with open windows and no security system, that is where he chooses to strike. Narcissists operate with the same predatory mindset. They are always searching for the path of least resistance. Therefore, if you make your life difficult to access, they will simply find someone else to bother. This is the reason why your commitment to no contact must be absolute. Block their phone number, block them on all social media platforms, and consider changing your own phone number if you feel it is necessary. Inform your mutual acquaintances that you are not interested in receiving news about that person and that you do not want your own life updates shared with them either. But here is the most challenging part of this entire process. You must also stop checking up on them. Every time you view their profile or ask someone how they are doing, you are the one breaking your own boundaries. Somehow, they seem to possess an intuitive sense when you are watching them. However, when you commit to being completely silent, you become invisible to them. It is impossible for a narcissist to manipulate someone they cannot see, and they cannot exert control over someone they cannot contact. They might try to test your resolve from time to time, but if you never provide a response, they will eventually move on to find a more willing participant. The third step is to stop defending yourself or offering explanations for your behavior. Narcissists are highly skilled at twisting your words and manipulating the situation so that you feel pressured to justify your actions. They will frequently accuse you of things you never did just to ensure you stay engaged in the conversation. The more you try to explain your side, the deeper you sink into their trap. When you choose to defend yourself, you are implicitly accepting the premise that you require their approval to exist. You are handing them the authority to judge your worth. But consider what happens when you stop participating in this cycle. If they accuse you of being selfish and you simply reply with a neutral acknowledgement, or if they claim that you never cared and you respond by noting that it is merely their personal opinion, the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they lose their control because their entire strategy of manipulation relies on your deep-seated need to be understood by them. When you cease caring about their perception of you, they lose their ability to inflict pain. You do not require their validation to know who you are. You do not need to prove your goodness, your loyalty, or your love, because to them, none of those qualities actually matter. This does not mean that you allow damaging lies to circulate without consequence. If someone at your workplace threatens your career, you should certainly defend yourself in a professional manner. But in the context of personal relationships, silence is your strongest move. Do not play the game they have constructed. By refusing to offer explanations, you are demonstrating that their opinions no longer hold any power over you. You are effectively telling them that they do not define you anymore. That is a realization that narcissists find intolerable. The fourth step is to cultivate a state of genuine indifference. Pretending not to care is ineffective because narcissists are often capable of sensing fake energy. True indifference is a state that you reach only after you have healed to the point where you honestly do not care what they do, who they are with, or what they have to say about you. They have become emotionally irrelevant to your life. You no longer find yourself checking their digital presence, wondering about the details of their life, or holding on to a secret hope that they might miss you. They have simply become another individual in the world who no longer has any access to your emotional landscape. To reach this state, you must allow yourself to grieve. You need to grieve the illusion of the person you believed they were. You must come to terms with the fact that the version of them you loved never actually existed in the way you envisioned. Once you have processed that pain, you will find a sense of lasting peace. You will begin to see them for who they truly are. They are not powerful, and they are not mysterious. They are simply deeply broken and insecure individuals. You realize that their cruelty is a byproduct of their own emptiness, and their need for control stems from their deep-seated fear. Once you truly understand this reality, You stop taking their behavior personally. They lose their hold on you for good. True indifference is not the same as hatred, as hate is just another form of energy that feeds them. Indifference is a state of neutrality. You stop trying to understand them. You stop trying to fix them, and you stop trying to change them. They simply cease to occupy any space in your emotional world. That is when you become genuinely free. The fifth step is to focus your entire attention on your own life. This is the stage where the most significant healing begins. You stop living your life as a reaction to them. You stop posting content on social media just to make them feel jealous. You stop engaging in activities simply to prove your worth to them. You stop visiting certain places in the secret hope that you might run into them. You stop living with the constant thought of how they might react to your decisions. Instead, you begin to live for your own sake. You start working on new projects. You surround yourself with kind and supportive people, and you pursue your own dreams. You invest your time in activities that excite you, rather than constantly replaying painful memories from the past. You devote yourself to your personal growth, your physical health, and your own happiness. As you do this, something remarkable happens. You start to radiate a sense of fulfillment from within. Your energy becomes calm, happy, and genuinely centered. Narcissists detest this transformation because it completely destroys the illusion they created that you are dependent on them. They want you to stay miserable, broken, and focused on them. However, when you are actively living your best life, their control over you dissipates. When you focus on yourself, you no longer have the time or the mental energy to think about the chaos they once brought into your world. You become too busy building a life that is peaceful and meaningful. You stop comparing your personal success to theirs. You stop competing for their attention. You stop trying to explain your choices. You stop caring about their perspective. That peace of mind becomes your shield. It provides you with the protection you need to ensure that you are never pulled back into their toxic patterns. The sixth step is to stop trying to expose them or force them to change. This is one of the most difficult steps for many because your sense of justice cries out that they must be held accountable for their actions. You want to warn others about what they are capable of. You want to ensure the world sees them for who they really are. However, every time you attempt to expose them, you are providing them with more energy because even negative attention is still a form of attention. They do not care if you hate them. They only care that you are still talking about them. When you try to expose their behavior, they are highly skilled at playing the victim and flipping the narrative. They will work to convince others that you are the one who is obsessed, bitter, or unstable. They are usually quite charming to those on the outside, and it is very likely that they have already shared their own version of the story with anyone who will listen. Therefore, when you speak up, it often sounds like confirmation of the lies they have already planted. It is deeply unfair, but it is a common reality. The same logic applies to trying to change them. You cannot fix someone who refuses to acknowledge that they have a problem in the first place. Sending them articles about narcissism, begging them to seek professional help, or explaining their toxic patterns to them will not work. Every attempt to fix them gives them more control over you. It keeps you tethered to them emotionally. Their healing is not your responsibility, and their journey towards self-awareness is not your job. You cannot teach empathy to someone who has no desire to experience it. When you finally stop trying to change or expose them, you reclaim your own energy. You stop playing the role of the tragic hero in their story and start becoming the main character in your own life. That is the only victory that truly matters. The best revenge is simply living well. This is not done to spite them, but to heal yourself. When you are happy, strong, and at peace, that is the one thing they will never be able to steal from you. And now we reach the seventh and final step. Become completely emotionally unavailable as a source of supply. This represents the ultimate form of personal freedom. It is the moment when you are not just physically separated from them, but also untouchable on an emotional level. They can no longer trigger a reaction from you because you have completely detached from the desire for their approval or their attention. When they send a text, you do not feel the urge to reply. When they deliver an insult, you do not flinch. When they attempt to offer praise, you do not melt or soften. You remain steady, calm, and grounded in your own reality. You provide them with nothing. There is no anger, no love, no pity, and no explanation. You become as still and immovable as a rock. This is not about being cold because of hatred, but about finding true peace through your own internal strength. When you reach this stage, you do not just make a single narcissist lose interest in you. You stop attracting these types of people entirely. They possess a keen sense for when someone no longer has any emotional supply left to give, and they inevitably move on. You become invisible to toxic people, but you start to become magnetic to those who are kind and grounded. You begin drawing in people who match your internal peace rather than those who seek to test it. Becoming emotionally unavailable is not about putting on a mask or pretending to be strong. It is about becoming genuinely and deeply healed on the inside. It is about realizing that your sense of peace is far too precious to waste on people who are only interested in draining it. When you become truly emotionally unavailable to manipulation, you are finally free. You can at last live your life without their dark shadow following you around. So there you have it. Those are the 7 powerful methods to make narcissists leave you alone for good. Stop providing them with emotional reactions. Commit to the no contact rule and keep it firm. Stop defending yourself or trying to explain your side of the story. Become genuinely indifferent to their presence.